And we have a verbal report from the Vice President. Oh, I am in the camera, that's delightful. I am giving a verbal report today for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm highly unorganised and that was finishing off the last bits of references for an essay as I was waiting to come up here. And I'm sure we all know that feeling. The kind of things that I've been doing with my term so far, which have been really exciting, is I've kind of had the best job. I've worked with clubs and societies and student groups, and a couple of extra projects that have been picked up here and there, which is roughly my job description, is clubs and societies and other stuff, I believe is the official words in my job description. We've had quite a good response from clubs this year. We're kind of back up to the same rough number of clubs that we had last year, and kind of what happens is we hit the end of the year, and there's a few reasons for this, but we hit the end of the year and we hit 0 clubs, and then we have to build it back up again, then we hit 0 clubs, then we have to build it back up again, and we hit 0 clubs, which is really difficult, really ineffective. And the major reason for that is that clubs have to re-affiliate at the end of every year, and we also don't provide as much support for them as we probably should, because they're working in unusual circumstances compared to other universities, where they have to include members from all across Scotland and not just all across our campus. So what we did this year is we developed a couple of things to try and support clubs through that. So we updated all our paperwork essentially as well, which actually takes a lot longer time than it sounds. Myself and when they were here, the support assistant went to Skills for Change by NUS to learn how to become campaign trainers in sort of campaign design and delivery, which was really exciting. And what we brought back from that were a few ideas that have kind of been put into practice. And one of those was that we've started a continuous development programme designed for clubs and societies, where every so often we hold a training course on how to get members, or how to fill in your funding application, or did you remember how AGMs work? And these are the kind of things that we've been working on and developing, which I hope are in a fairly steady place here. For those of you who don't know, I don't work full-time. I work for 14 hours a week as well as full-time study. So the balance is very difficult to strike, and I'll come to that in a couple of minutes with a surprise announcement. We also started to engage with other projects. So we started to engage with NUS on housing and travel, and we did press releases, and I went to a lot of chats about how press works, which was about as exciting as it sounds. And what else did we do this year? We did so much, I actually can't remember most of it, and this is probably why verbal reports are bad. But my written reports that I submit to each executive committee should be available from the UHISA website, along with the minutes of each exec. So if you want to look at those in further detail, you're fairly welcome to. We also, like the others, I sit on committees. I sit on LTQC and the Regionalisation Project Board and all that good stuff. And I have to say, it's not been too contentious so far. I don't feel like we've had a lot of contention, except around the kind of issues that Dane is working with on extensions and penalties and things that don't really matter until they're there and you have to deal with them as a student. And this is kind of where the heart of UHISA comes in, where the kind of stuff that we do sounds a bit boring when we tell you about it, but it's the kind of stuff that one day you're going to go, oh my god, because you're going to get to a deadline and need a 3-day extension and they don't exist anymore. And that's why it's really important to have associations and to have that representation to say, actually, no, we need our 3-day extensions. It's not fair to take them away from us. And I very much encourage everyone in this room and everyone in our university to engage with their sabbaticals and their college representatives and their clubs and societies and tell them this is the university that we want, because there wouldn't be a university without students. So if you're not telling us what you want, you've basically got a bunch of people telling you what your education is going to look like. And I don't think that that's what we really want. I mean, it's your education. Please take ownership of it. It's really important that you do. I suppose I should move on to surprise announcement. Over the last few months that we've been in term, and also before that, I mean, we get elected back in March, and we take up our handover essentially from that point onwards, and continue on. It's become quite apparent that this is not a leave it in the office job. It's a bit of a take-home job, and that's not anyone's fault. As Ian was saying earlier, this is a young university by vast comparison. And UHISA is even younger. I mean, this is our 10-year anniversary, but there's student associations that have been around for, I don't even know how many years. They've
1974.
There we go, 1974 with UHISA. So even UHISA is older than we are, British College Student Association, and I have the minutes from the 80s sitting in my bedroom right now that I'm currently organising to give back to you that I forgot to tell Anne about. Sorry about that. There's like missing minutes that people are like, and I'm like, haha. You will get those back soon, I promise. I've been putting them into nice Polly pockets so that they don't get wrecked with age and rusted staples.
They just sit on the shelf.
Yeah, they do just sit on a shelf. They're not that important. The work they did was, but the actual minutes themselves, 30 years on, not so much. As I said at the start of this as well, like I study full-time literature, and it's quite a demanding course in terms of the academic side of it, because there's not really a lot of placements or work experience or PowerPoints you can do on literature. It's very much essays, it's very much research, it's very much sitting in the library until your fingers go numb writing essays, which is, you know, I love it. I love my course. I wouldn't change it for the world. We are the guinea pig class. We're the first class that it ran in, and it's just been amazing. And it's, you know, well done to the lecturers and the staff that made it happen, and are continuing to make different programs happen. But as I was saying, this job is a take-home job. That balance is difficult to strike, and I think one of the things that came apparent to us through our work together and with NUS was that we probably shouldn't have taken on the job, and that we probably shouldn't have taken on our support assistant when we did. And that's nothing that any of us could have seen coming. And it also wasn't us that made those decisions as a little you know, escape. We kind of weren't there when those decisions were made, and we came into this situation that really didn't quite work, and it really didn't work to students' best advantages or to their interests, and it didn't work to ours either, because it meant we spent a lot of time dealing with things that shouldn't have needed to be dealt with. UHISA is young. It tried to run before it was fully walking, and we have learned from that, and we will move on. And we will continue to develop and become stronger and to represent students in the best way that we can. But it's not the best situation for myself right now. I mean, as I was saying, I'm finishing off the references on an essay, doing student council, which is essentially an event where I'm supposed to be completely engaged, but the balance there isn't happening, and it's not something that can't be resolved, but it's not something that's going to be resolved in time for me to pass my degree with the capabilities that I know that I can when I have the time to dedicate to it. And for this reason, I am resigning from my post as UHISA Vice President, and that has essentially already taken effect from this week. But this is my last working event in which I wanted to tell you all this. I explain to you the reasons why, and leave on a bit of a high note. So, with that said, I am no longer your Vice President. So I can say whatever I want now. Let me tell you, these asshats are very good at their job. They are very good sabbaticals, and they've done the best with an awful situation. I wish them the best of luck. And I want it to be clear for them, for everyone in the room, and for everyone else to see in our university that I'm leaving because I need time to give to my degree. I need time to give to my life and my dog, who I love very much and I have separation issues with. This was not an easy decision. It was not something I made overnight, and it was not something that I am fully happy about. but is best for me, and I will be content with that. And at some point today, there may be students who try and tell you that our SABs have failed students and have failed staff members. And I want everyone to know that I am not leaving for any reasons to do with that, because our staff, our SABs, did the absolute best they could. They did a stellar job, and you should not be fooled that that was anything other than the case. So that's the end of my report, and thank you.
Yeah, but you're not
Well,
leaving.
yeah, does anyone have any questions? I should probably
want to
have
resign
that.
now so I can get a round of applause.
Yeah. You don't have to do a second one unless you really want to. Has anyone got any questions? Hi, Ian.
Hi, not a question. I'm an observer. I'm not supposed to say anything, but I just want to say on the institution side, I'm really disappointed to hear your news, but I completely understand it. Absolutely loved working with you, Kat, and you brought an awful lot to the table. And I hope that, although your particular role is going to change, I hope we see a lot more of you in different ways throughout your time as a student. And thank you.
I would not have it any other way. You will definitely be hearing a lot from me, even if by the end of the year you go, oh, God, won't you just go? But yeah, I'll be around.
I'll just ask a boring one on a bit earlier bit, and you know, it was lovely to listen to what you had to say actually, and thanks again, because I know how much you put into a lot of things in really difficult situations. So, but just referring to the annual re-affiliation of the societies, what work has been done on that? Just to make use of your expertise before you go.
Yeah, no,
sure we've been milking it as much as we possibly can. What work has been done on that, and in terms of actually improving that for the societies, and next year, for example, or this current academic year, you know, what would you suggest we actually take forward in terms of that?
The thing with the re-affiliation every year, I don't think that's something we can really get around. It's about making sure that our records are up to date for insurance purposes. It's about funding. It's about making sure that things are working as they should do. But the things that we've been working on is that next year, and I would very much advise you, told everyone to account on this, is that all clubs have to have a AGM, annual general meeting, and in that they summarise the year, they finalise their finances, which is a lovely alliteration for you, and they decide their new committee for the next year. So as I was saying, we had our first training session, and hopefully those will continue throughout the year. And round about the time, sort of about, probably I would say about May, March or May, April or May even, I know my months, we should be holding training sessions about holding AGMs, about getting paperwork in before your next committee comes in so that they're not left going, oh my God, what do I do? And about making that more streamlined so that there isn't really that much of a going back to zero and starting again. It's very much like a little shift in what's going on.
Yeah. Thanks.
So when will we have a new VP then?
It's a bit late to be running a by-election. Again, sorry about that, guys. Oops. So what will happen is Rachel and Dane will take on my work. I think we kind of discussed that it would go back to the old system where Dane is the deputy, would take on the clubs and societies, but I think they chatted about that more, so I could be telling you complete lies right now. But I'll go with it. So my work will go to them, and also to the executive committee, and I think they'll be great at it.
Can I just come in on that one? We've submitted a motion about shortening the timescale for a by-election to increase the productivity when situations like this happen, so we're not without an officer for such a long period of time. We need to get an officer in. Like me and Dane, we have a lot of work to do. You saw our reports. The sooner we can get a new VP in, the bigger benefit it will be to the students to have somebody dedicated to that, and that will be improving the social integration, which has been highlighted as such a major issue.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is it possible to co-opt people at this stage?
We don't like to co-opt for paid positions particularly.
Right.
We have co-opted in the past for non-paid positions, but we're trying to avoid that as much as possible now on, because it weakens our democratic structures in terms of that sort of thing. After all, what's the point of running an election if you're going to just co-opt people?
for people who hear the word co-opting and don't know what that means, it basically means instead of an election, we kind of accept someone who wants to do it in a rough sense. But what that means is you don't really get a choice in who's being elected, which is bad because choice is good.
A co-opted member is also not a voting member.
Yeah, so they can't vote in the executive committee, which means you'd have like a VP that couldn't vote on any papers that were going to the exec, which would be a little bit inefficient, especially if they were like writing those papers. So
do we know a timescale then?
maybe after this afternoon.
Depending on the motion on page 111, I think will determine the timescale.
Yeah. Okay.
The current timescale is 6 weeks. We've put in a motion to shorten that to 3 weeks, which would make it feasible to have an election before the main elections, which is start in February. Because currently, with the main election starting on the 7th of February, there wouldn't be sufficient time with students about to run a by-election with the full timescale.
Also, that person would be in post for like 2 days before they had to start talking to people who were going to take over from them, and that's not very fair. So,
to give an idea of timescale, a 3-week period, we could have run a by-election before the Christmas break, so that somebody have Christmas break to kind of come to terms with things. Before students come back at the end of January, 27th of January. So as I said, it all does depend on this motion.
Sorry.
That's maybe a good time to make a call out for everyone to put their phones on silent.
Yeah, we probably should have said that at the start. I mean, we could go for like the View Cinemas version of phones on silent, but feel free to text if you want to, because we all know that's what's going to happen anyway.
Are there any further questions?
No. Just a comment to Kat. Kat, I'm really sad that you're going. I totally understand, same as what Ian said. We've already spoke about it. Yeah. I wish you well.
I wish all of you well too. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to Kat for her contribution so far this year, and I'm sure you'll continue to be involved in whatever way you can.